Tonight, this whole show is to answer one specific question. How does a neutral region become one of the biggest victims of a war it did not enter? The Kurdistan region, all the parties of the region, the president of the region, prime minister and deputy prime minister have said this again and again. Kurdistan is neutral. Kurdistan is not part of this conflict. Not a single bullet has been fired from the Kurdistan region at Iran, and yet the Kurdistan region of Iraq has paid in blood. So far, 14 people have been martyred inside Iraqi Kurdistan by drones and missiles launched by Iran and by pro-Iranian militias inside Iraq. Think about that. A neutral region, one that has tried to be nothing but a bridge for peace, stability, and dialogue, has lost more people than even the United States, the main military power in the war. The US has lost 13 people. The Kurdistan region, which is not even a party to this conflict, has lost 14 people. On March 24th, Iran fired 6 missiles at a Peshmerga base in Soran. 6 Peshmerga were martyred. 30 others were wounded. These were not fighters attacking Iran. They were not launching operations. They were not part of this war at all. They were resting in their base. And let us be very clear about one thing. The Peshmerga are a legitimate federal Iraqi military force. That is what makes this even more shocking. Iran has not directly attacked the militaries of any Gulf states, even those who are deeply involved in the conflict. The only non-American, non-Israeli military force whose base Iran struck directly was Peshmerga, a neighboring force that has posed no offensive threat in this war. And the attacks did not stop at military targets. Civilian homes in Erbil and Slemani were also hit by drones. Hotels and crowded areas were among the targets. Even camps of Iranian Kurdish opposition groups, places where families live, were struck. Since the beginning of the war, the Kurdistan region has faced more than 460 drone and missile attacks. 460. That's about 15 attacks every single day. Exceptions happen. In 24 hours from 28th to 29th of March, Kurdistan was attacked 36 times. 36 times in 24 hours. And remember, the Kurdistan region is not a sovereign state. It does not control its own airspace, and no US bases in the Kurdistan region were used to launch attacks on Iran. That is what makes this so difficult to explain, because some fully sovereign countries that gave the United States far more access from land, airspace, or infrastructure were attacked less. Up until March 19th, Bahrain was attacked 429 times, Oman 22 times, Qatar 270 times, and yet the Kurdistan region, which insists it is neutral, which cannot even fully control its own skies, and which says it played no role in the attacks on Iran, has been attacked way more than these sovereign countries. The alarm has reached far beyond Iraq. Tom Barak and Marco Rubio both called Kurdistan region Prime Minister Masroor Barzani after the attacks. Turkey's Hakan Fidan, the King of Jordan, and European states also reached out to express condolences to the people of Kurdistan and to the Peshmerga. And then came another deeply dangerous sign. On March 28th, the escalation reached a new level when attacks were aimed at the residence of the president of the Kurdistan region in Duhok, not once, but twice. Later, Reuters reported that air defenses shot down a drone near the residence of Kurdish leader Massoud Barzani in Erbil. In response to these events, the Barzani headquarters issued a statement. While strongly condemning the unjust attacks on the Kurdistan region, it also said, "Our headquarters," let me read it here, "our headquarters were hit 5 times, but we stayed quiet to avoid spreading fear and panic, sparking public outrage." Why is this happening despite Kurdistan's neutrality? Is someone trying to drag Kurdistan into the war? Who benefits from chaos in the Kurdistan region? Have the Iranian Kurdish opposition groups truly posed a threat large enough to justify this escalation? And above all, what should Kurdistan's officials do now? To discuss all of this, I'm joined tonight by a distinguished panel of guests. Joining us from the United States, retired U.S. Army Colonel Miles Kaggans, a former senior spokesperson for the Global Coalition Against ISIS. And also from the U.S. is Professor Dr. Mohammed Ihsan, former KRG Minister and International Advisor. From Canada, we have Mr. Hajar Birinji, representative of Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan, joining us. From Kurdistan region, we have Ayub Nouri, journalist and host of Erbil Edition, and we have Diyar Perwana, one of the founders of Kurdistan Future Movement, who is with us from Sweden.
The majority who is ruling the country today, they are politics lover. They are not statesmen, and they don't know how to stop these militias attacking Kurdistan.
I'll start my show with Dr. Mohammed Ihsan, who is a former minister in the Kurdistan region and an international advisor. Dr. Mohammed, I'm very, very pleased to have you here. And
thank you so much.
Let me start by asking this. Why is Kurdistan being attacked?
Really, there are so many reasons for them to attack Kurdistan. I'm going to talk about, first of all, there is some social background in addition to political background. We have some groups in Iraq, they cannot stand or they cannot accept what Kurd and Kurdistan has achieved after 2003 until now. This is number one. I consider it as a social background. They cannot stand or they cannot understand why we became so peaceful, so non-act of disability in the area, in addition of so many other political reasons as well. First of all, some Iraqi militias, they're attacking Kurdistan to destabilize Kurdistan and to make Kurdistan to be part of this war. We make it clear, since 1991, we are the key to settlement in the area. We're never ever going to be based to attack Turkey, Iran, Syria, or other parts of Iraq. This was our doctrine since 1991. In this war, American, they name it Operation, which is, for me as a legal advisor, I understand what the meaning between operation, battle, and war. Look, in addition to what you said, I was a minister in the government, but now I'm teaching at the War College in London, and I'm senior visiting professor at University of Yale as well, in addition to Exeter University. That means I know what I'm talking about. Political reason, in Iraq, we are living in a state under the banner of state, but not command and control of a state. Some militias are getting the salary from the government, by this salary attacking Kurdistans, okay, and at the same time attacking the government, federal government, Baghdad. That means the government is not functioning as a government. And we as a Kurdistan regional government as well, we don't want to leave the situation to another complicated or clash, because we don't want to be part of this war. This war is not our war. We will never ever going to defend Iran because we respect the border and neighborhood between us and Iranian, but we are not going to be a bridge to attack Iran or to undermine the operation which is going on in the area. Some Iraqi groups, they think if they push us to that area, they attack Kurdistan, which we condemn. The attack of yesterday, that when they attacked the residency of the president of Kurdistan, Echevan Barzani, which was very bad act and shameful act for the Iraqi federal government at the same times. They want by that we should be part of the war, okay? They want to lead us to clash to the area. And based on my advice, I worked as operational guy in Iraq 2003. The main responsibility is the responsibility of Iraqi federal government.
Second, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, please continue.
Second, mainly American troops, they should clean the border of Kurdistan up to level that these militias cannot fly or they cannot send drones or rockets to us. which is coming from Iran. We understand it what Iran, because Iran, they justify, they're not just attacking us, they are attacking 14 other countries in the region, which will lead, based on my experience, which will lead to, I think, to a coalition by the end against Iran. They misplace it, and Iran, day by day, approved to international community that they are the key to unsettlement in the area and insecurity in the area, not settlement in the area. Which means by that there will be a lot of international acts. It might lead to international coalition and even some Arabs. Today morning I was following the news which is going on in Pakistan, that the meeting between the foreign minister of Pakistan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia and Turkey, it will lead to, because I am 100% sure Iran, they don't understand and they don't trust anybody to be part of this war, because they think, what if we stopped? We don't know what's next, because they don't trust each other, them and America. Iraqi group, they want us to push Kurds, KRG, to be part of this war, which is totally against the will of Kurdistan, and we are not going to be part of it.
So you think it's Iran or the Iraqi militias that wants to drag Kurdistan into this war?
Iran, I think everything is coming from Iran. Because Iranian, when they lie, it's worship for them. Okay, they worship through their lying. What I've heard from yesterday till now from the foreign minister, some leaders of the government, for me is bullshit. No, I don't think any Iraqi militias can act anything against Kurdistan without Iranian approval. Okay, but that's their tactique. Always they've done that. Always they lie until to make and implement the policy.
Because
it's not acceptable.
The Iranian foreign minister yesterday said we are against the attacks on the president of Kurdistan's house.
With all my respect, he's not saying the truth.
So you say that Iran was behind the attacks against the Nechirvan Barzani's residence?
Definitely. If Iran is not directly, indirectly, because these groups that are working for Iran. These militias inside Iraq, they are working for Iran. Without Iranian support, they are nothing.
Some say the Iraqi militias are out of control, and now Iran itself cannot control and contain them. Is it true?
This is going to be more disaster for us. If Iran cannot control it, or Iraqi government cannot control it, it's easy for us to attack. It's easy for us to demolish them totally. Seriously, if Iran is not helping them, and if Iraqi government can say, okay, I cannot control them, for KRG and for Kurdish Peshmerga, it's a piece of cake. We can deal with them. This is not a threat, because I worked in the government. I was a minister for 17 years. I know our capability. I know what we can do and we cannot. If Iran is not behind them, and if Iraqi government is not behind them, for us it's too easy to do that one. But to get the salary from Iraqi government and to get political support from Iran and to lead us or encourage us to engage, we don't want to fight Iran, and we don't want to fight our federal government inside Iraq. But at the same time, we want them to be responsible, to be more responsible, and to stop these attacks against Kurdistan.
If they don't stop the attacks, do you think Kurdistan region will reply to these attacks, will attack them back? Because in the recent statements by Kurdish officials, they say we have all the rights to do so.
We have all the rights to do it. I think the war cannot continue the way it's been from the last month. Seriously. I think in the area, in a couple of 2 weeks, either there will be some ground attacks in Iran, mainly Kurd, and to open the Hormuz, and the powers in the region, mainly GCC countries, they should make some act. They cannot stop. They cannot watch every day's attack on their soil, okay, and they will lose the excuse and credibility in front of the people. Seriously. But mainly a country like Saudi Arabia, they spend billions and billions and billions of dollars to protect the 70 and the states. If they've been attacked every day by Iranians, they will react. Seriously. I think G7, they will have different approach to the war. Okay. GCC, they will have different, and some parts of NATO, mainly UK and France, they will have different approach to the war in the coming 2 weeks, because Iran cannot stay attack 14 countries and not fire back from other sides. Even Turkey, I think in Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, because they already have their own coalition before the war. They will intervene, they will tell Iran, either you are going to stop or we are going to act.
But this means the war will get into a global stage.
It's already global stage, seriously, but we don't know, our culture, we don't know how to name every war by itself. I think this is the only Gulf War. We had 2 Gulf Wars before. None of them was Gulf Wars. It was a war against Iraq. But now you have a war with all Gulf states participating in the war. Iran is attacking them every day. But they cannot continue like that.
How long do you think the war will continue?
I think another 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we should prepare ourselves, and the ground attack will start as well.
Ground invasion by the US troops?
Not invasion. Why not liberation? Why invasion?
So
I think it might be liberation.
Ground operations against Iran by US troops is likely?
100%.
But what about the talks between US and Iran?
Buying time.
Buying time? By the US?
Yes.
Okay. Sir, you have been a minister in Kurdistan region's government for 17 years, as you said.
Yes.
Do you think Kurdistan region is neutral?
Really, we are neutral, yes.
During those years that you were in cabinet, have you seen effective ways that Kurdistan, effective measures they've taken to stay neutral against all the conflicts in the region?
Seriously, we were doing our best, mainly under the leadership of Najibullah Barzani. We were 100% neutral in everything going on around us or within Kurdistan. We were neutral because our target is to protect our land, to protect our people, create good welfare for our people, and not be part of any conflict. Even sometimes we graduated our role to be part of the solutions more than part of to be a problem.
But sir, neutrality always protects the countries that are neutral. For example, Austria, Switzerland, Ireland, they have been neutral for years and they have been out of the war. But why neutrality is not protecting Kurdistan?
Look, because geography, it has its own effect. Number one. Number two, you are not a state. You are doing anything you do inside the country as if you are disabled. You are running by one leg. You are fighting by one hand. You can see everything by one eyes because you are not independent states, and your land has been. You are in a very complicated area. You have, for example, for Iraq, we have 1,600 kilometers border with Iran. Okay, which means anything going on inside Iran, it affects me. Other things inside Iraq, we are living in a country, it's not a state. Iraq is a failure state. Don't think it is a federal government, it's not a state. Seriously, it's not a state. All what they do, they cannot behave like a state. All what they are doing, going on inside the country is being, raped by militias, definitely 100%. The budget of the country has been spent on something which is not interested, not getting any benefit for Iraqis, imagine, and they don't have a strategic planning inside the country. None of the Iraqi employees now in the cabinets, or most of the ministers, including the prime minister, he don't know what's his plan for next month. It will depend on any act coming from around him, because they don't behave or perform as a proper government.
Sir, do you think Iraq is unable or not willing to stop these attacks by the militias?
As a government, they are not capable.
They're not capable. So they're willing to stop the attacks by the militias against Kurdistan?
You know, there is lack of leadership in there. Some people, they became leaders in Iraq, including prime ministers, ministers, or command leaders or unit leaders. They were never ever imagining in their life to control or to manage an office of 5 peoples. By luck or by mistake, they became prime minister or they became a leader of ministers. There is a big difference between statesman and politicians or politics lover. The majority who is ruling the country today, they are politics lover. They are not politicians and they are not statesmen. This is why they cannot make any change. And they don't know how to stop these militias attacking Kurdistan. Yesterday, I was hearing the news from where I am. Prime Minister was condemning the attack of Hafsan Shababazoni. Al-Hakim was condemning. Everybody was condemning that. But, you know, it's shame for you to be a prime minister to condemn somebody who's attacking your regional power, regional partner, a regional government within your country, and you cannot stop them or cannot take action against them.
Sir, who among all the leaders, all the officials and party leaders in Iraq have the potential to stop these attacks, have a say in this?
Really, if they want, Prime Minister, the Shia alliance, coalition, this is their responsibility because the government did them. And if they failed, seriously, I think they will never ever going to be in power again, because this is the first test for them to protect diplomatic missions inside Iraq, to protect KRG, and to be more responsible, to protect their borders, to make stop. Iraq is not a backup garden for Iran, because if Iran goes, they are going to go with them.
Sir, if you look at all the dimensions of the Kurdistan as a neighbor to Iran, from all the dimensions, let's not only look at our story. Do you think, by any means, Kurdistan region has become a threat to Iran in this war?
Believe me, look, I respect, I think I worship Iranian culture, okay, and Iranian civilizations. But we will never ever threat to Iran. We're totally different. People were accusing us that we admire Iran and Iranians more than they deserve. We will never ever, and we were never ever part of any threat to them. And even when they will have problem with their own Kurds, we were always were advising Kurds, Iranian Kurds, to be more politics, to involve in political negotiation more than anything else, because we cannot forget what we've been through. We cannot forget Iran's, because the majority of us, we were at some stage of our life, we're in Iran. Okay, when we're running away from Saddam Hussein, we're in Iran. We'll never ever threat for them, but they've been misled by some for Iraqi teenager politicians, and they think Kurdistan is a threat to them. We never ever like that. We always want to respect our neighborhood and to be part of speak, even within their own Kurds. We never ever threat to them.
Talking about Iranian Kurds, sir, do you think in the calls that President Trump made to President Barzani here and Bafel Talabani, the head of Yekiti, and the head of the Kurdistan Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan, Mustafa Hijr, do you think he has asked them to allow Iranian Kurds to enter Iran?
Look, Iranian Kurds, they have all the right to do anything which is based on their interests. We are not going to be spokesmen for them, and we are not going to be advisors for them. We are brothers, but not partners in politics. This is my belief, and I believe in it 100%. Okay? I think our cause is fragmented. We are brothers with them, but we are not partners in politics. But if you look at the situation, Iran should be blamed. Why Iran until now never managed to negotiate or to sort out the problem with their own Kurds, wait for America to intervene and to lead them or to weaponize them to attack Iranian government? This is something belongs to them. This is their own problem. I think regarding us, we are never ever going to allow our lands to be used against Iran, despite of their attack, despite of what they are doing. Until now, this doesn't mean it's fixed forever. Until now. So far, until today, we are part of a peace deal. We don't want to be any threat to any neighbor countries.
This means Kurdistan region will not allow the Kurdish Iranian opposition parties that are in Kurdistan to...
I never said we are not going to allow, but we are not going to be base for them. If they want to do anything inside Iran's land, they are free to do it. Personally, I think it's a great opportunity for them. They should get advantage of it. We've been through the same thing. I remember 1991, I was a young Peshmerga in Kurdistan. When I've seen Saddam is falling and everything going on, we were dreaming to get rid of the regime and building our Kurdistan. Why not?
They say in the call that President Trump did to head of Kurdistan Democratic Party and Kurdistan Union Party, Bafel Talabani and Masoud Barzani, he has asked them to allow the opposition parties to enter Iran, and they have refused or said we are neutral. Does this mean they went against US's will and US's strategies?
We never ever going to stand against UN, because we know that without UN, without US support, we are going to be easy target for all regional power, including government in Baghdad. But they understand our position and our capability as well. American, they know what we can and we cannot. And American is not going to use us for a biggest risk that we can be destroyed after all what we worked to build our Kurdistan today. I don't think we are against the American project, and we are not in a position that to stop it or to encourage it.
Yeah.
Okay. We are not in that position. We are not going to exaggerate about our role. We are small region, small people, very dedicated.
So Kurdistan has respectfully declined America's advice.
No, we never declined. It was not like that. Never think it's what, never ever expect that Trump or President Trump can call Mr. Barzani or Mr. Talabani, tell him that we should do that. No, they know how to talk and how diplomacy works. But each country, we were clear with them that this war is not our war. And we don't have that capability, and we are not waiting for weapons to weaponize us and to be part of this war. What we are going through is enough. We've seen a lot of genocides and tragedy in our history. We don't want to be subject to genocide again.
Yeah. Sir, the Kurdistan region has been under continuous and repeated drone and missile attacks in the recent years and until recently. But Iraq has not provided an effective interception system for Kurdistan region. Legally speaking and constitutionally speaking, do you think Erbil and Kurdistan have the right to demand air protection if Baghdad does not provide them one?
100%. 100%.
From who? They can purchase? They can buy it from another country, or they can ask for it from...
They can get help from any other country. Seriously. We can get from our friends in Europe. We can get from Turkey, because Turkey, they have good system as well. And we have all the rights to protect our... We are going to do anything we can to protect our civilians.
Is this
and to protect our land.
Is this constitutional, according to Iraq's constitution?
Yes. Yes. Constitution is based on ethic and moral. If acts, unmoral acts or unethical acts been against you, you have all the right to get it from where you can get your help.
Mm-hmm. And do you think Baghdad will in the future provide us air defense systems, or it's never?
They will never ever do it. Seriously, they will never. Even they can. If they have money, they will never ever do it. Because Baghdad, until now, the majority of the politicians in Baghdad, they cannot digest Kurdistan as a federal region. They cannot digest what you build in Erbil and Slemani. They cannot digest freedom of speech, what you have in your country. They cannot digest even your shade. even the color of your tie, because they grown up in a way that you can work for them or to be like somebody followers for them. We stopped that stage. We are no more going to be like that.
Sir, is there any legal difference between an attack carried out by Iran and an attack carried out by Iranian-backed militias in Iraq, legally, in international levels?
Legally, yes. If you have an attack coming from Iran, they can justify it. That they will tell you, you have American base and we are at a war, but not attacking civilians. But all militias in South Iraq, they have no base for any attack in Kurdistan, okay? They have no base and it's not acceptable at all. The responsibility goes back to federal government. They should stop these attacks against Kurdistan, and they should stop this hostile thought image about Kurdistan within their own, with the area of their own authority. And if not, seriously, I'm not expecting that your Kurds going to remain like this. It will reach to the area, at least disputed areas should be controlled, okay, or not controlled, or Kurds, they should work with American more to attack all the militias around their border.
So you think if the attacks don't stop, Kurdistan will go back to the disputed areas by the help of US?
I think this is one of the chances. If we were in we should find a way of controlling disputed areas, not because Iraq is failed as a country. We should do it together. We should protect the security of the area with both of us. We should do it together. Area under Iraq's control. And from that area, people that are sending me rockets and drones, I should tell them, because we know from where they are coming, and we know who is behind these attacks. It's clear. If they cannot do that, we know the way how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think US is with this strategy, this idea?
All strategies are open for US today. They are in bad position. They want to win it. They are not ready to stop the war at this stage. They want to be more clear to clear victory, mainly against Iraqi militias and against Iran.
But this will make the war even bigger.
For 100%, it's going to be bigger.
And the US wants to stop the war by all the outlets that are covering that.
They want to stop the war, but they cannot. They are not ready. Don't forget, by November we had midterm election in Washington. Okay. Don't forget, Netanyahu is in a position he has to make clear victory. Don't forget, Trump himself, this is his first war. Okay. If he's ready to put his signature on a dollar, he wants to put his signature on international system as well. This is why I think we are going to be more, scale of the war is going to be bigger, time is going to be longer, and the question depends how Iran can stand against all these attacks. And the role of diplomacy today, I think, I never because the country who are involved in this negotiation, I'm not optimistic about it at all.
Mm-hmm. Sir, you are an international advisor. Let this be my last question. What is your advice to Kurdish officials?
Don't talk a lot. Don't talk a lot. Control the media if you can, because a lot of bad things going out, and it creates instability within the society, which is not, that's one of your basic responsibility. Put more pressure in Baghdad. Open better gaze with American.
Thank you, sir. We are very, very pleased to have you on our show. It was our absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Baghdad has not done enough, but you know what? I do not think Baghdad can do anymore.
My guest is Mr. Miles Kaggans, who is a retired US Army colonel and a former senior spokesperson for the Global Coalition Against ISIS. Sir, we are very pleased to have you here.
Rojbash Kakhawas, this is glad to be here.
Thank you. I know you speak Kurdish, and we are very glad that we hear sometimes on TVs that you speak Kurdish. as well. And I think your accent is also very Kurdish. We can't see any difference like an American accent. It's Kurdish.
Well, I have many Kurdish friends, including my close business partner, Kak Nariman Harami, and others who have taught me a little bit of Kurdish words here and there. And after the war is over, I'm planning to spend more time in Kurdistan region of Iraq and Rojava.
Hopefully. So you cannot proceed your interview with Kurdish, right? We should proceed with English. It's not enough yet.
We should proceed with English. Unless our interview is about ordering tea and kebabs, we should probably do this interview.
We look forward to see you here again, sir, after the war is over. I want to start with this question, sir. 6 Peshmerga were killed in the Kurdistan region, and attacks are happening on a daily basis against Kurdistan infrastructure and civilian infrastructure and Peshmerga bases, even the president's home. What's your take on these attacks? Do you think Iran and Iran-backed militias are trying to drag Kurdistan into this war? And if yes, why?
Well, first, let's give our condolences to the Shaheed, the martyrs who were killed in these attacks. And we know that Kurdistan region has not provoked these attacks. Now, I think we have more than 400 attacks, 500 attacks against Kurdistan region from the Iranian-aligned militias inside of Iraq, and also from the Iraqi military, from the nation state of Iraq, all attacking Kurdistan region, civilian targets, military targets, diplomatic targets. Some are just stray drones going into residential areas. And this is quite alarming. And so again, my condolences to the families of the Peshmerga who were killed, to the gentleman who was killed at the Erbil air base, and there are now a few dozen who have been wounded. And also, I'm an American soldier, and we have seen now more than 10 American soldiers killed in this war against Iran.
So do you think they are trying to drag Kurdistan into this war, according to your perspective?
It is clearly a goal of Iran and the Iranian-aligned militias, the outlaw militia groups that are operating inside of Iraq. They don't know if they want to drag Kurdistan region into the war, but they want to defeat and crush Kurdistan region. So their motivation is to cause death and destruction and harm to the people of Kurdistan region, but also to the reputation that Kurdistan region has established globally. Kurdistan region is known as a place that is peaceful, that has wonderful people, that is good for business and investment opportunities. And these outlaw militia groups are jealous, they are hateful, they are racist, and that is why they are attacking Kurdistan region.
Sir, do you think Baghdad has done enough diplomatically and politically to protect Kurdistan region from these attacks?
Baghdad has not done enough, but you know what? You know what, my friend? I do not think Baghdad can do anymore. You see, I believe these groups, these outlaw groups, Brigade 45, Brigade number 40, Brigade number 30, they are taking orders from Quds Force. They are taking orders from Tehran, from IRGC. And Baghdad is trying to tell them to stop making the attacks, but we saw less than 24 hours after a big announcement from the US and Baghdad, they established a new coordinating group. We saw that there were numerous attacks hitting the Kurdistan region. So these outlaw rogue militia groups are not under the control of Baghdad.
But sir, Iran publicly yesterday said that they are against the attacks on President's home, President Ekrem Barzani's home, and they condemned the attacks.
Well, this is the same Iran that killed our esteemed businessman Kak Peshwa Dezei and his little daughter Gina. Okay, this is the same Iran that attacked the businessman Sheikh Baz's house. This is the same Iran that fired ballistic missiles into Koya 7 or 8 years ago. So I do not take these words of Iran condemning the attack on His Excellency President Netrban Barzani's house. I do not take their word seriously. They're not to be believed based on their own record of attacking civilian homes and business targets.
Sir, you reminded us of the previous attacks that happened over the past years. It is not only about the Iran war. It happened over the years that even when the war was not there and Kurdistan was not a threat and the US-Israeli attacks were not happening, but still Iran attacks were targeting Kurdistan region, like the ones you mentioned, like Peshawzai's home that killed him and his daughter, and like the other attacks on Kurdistan's infrastructure. Why do you think Kurdistan does not have an air defense until now? Because I know constitutionally, according to Iraq's constitution, Kurdistan is allowed to have an air defense. Why US is not giving one to Kurdistan, or why Baghdad is not allowing the Kurdistan region to get one?
Yeah, allow me a few moments to describe this for the people who are watching today, because I want to walk through the history of US supporting Kurdistan region with air defense. When I was deployed in Iraq in 2019 and 2020, there were increased hostilities between the United States and Iran. And inside of Iraq, we saw attacks from these outlaw militia groups that killed an American interpreter in Kirkuk and killed American and British soldiers in Taji, that's a little bit north of Baghdad. And there were ballistic missiles that were fired at Erbil and also at the Al-Assad Air Base in Anbar province. The United States decided to deploy the Patriot missile system and the CRAM system. CRAM is CRAM, counter rocket and mortar system. This is the bullets that you see streaming into the skies to knock out the drones. So America has known that there's been a threat from missile attacks from Iran and militias inside of federal Iraq and inside Kurdistan region. Each year, the United States Congress makes a law called the National Defense Authorization Act. This is, you could just call it the military law if you want to, simple language. And it is signed by the president. President Biden signed this law in 2023 to cover the fiscal year of 2024. One of the provisions in this law was for the Pentagon to provide a comprehensive study, research, and a briefing to Congress about the feasibility, the necessity of providing air defense systems to Iraq, including Kurdistan region. Now, here we are. It is the spring of 2026. We do not know the results of this study. We certainly have not seen any additional effort from the United States to provide air and missile defense systems for Kurdistan region. And what I think is now the US, Congress, and the Pentagon should not wait any longer. There's no time for studies. America should not be wanting to have this as a both sides issue to keep Baghdad happy, keep Erbil happy. The threat is against Kurdistan region. Clear and simple. What I recommend is that the United States Congress authorizes the sale and the training of Peshmerga on counter-drone, counter-missile, and rocket systems. Now, normally these types of significant equipment sales are coordinated through Baghdad. But we know that Baghdad will be slow. There will be objections from Baghdad. Baghdad may not let the equipment travel into the United States. That is why I think it is important for Congress and President Trump to authorize the immediate sale and training of this type of equipment, counter-drone equipment, directly to the Ministry of Peshmerga and the KRG. There's a big law that the U.S. Congress is working on now. It's called a war supplemental bill. This is a budgetary law that is special because America is at war and we have to spend more money on weapons and operations in Iran. So when America comes up with these laws, and trust me on this, your viewers are smart. They can go Google this. I promise you, there will be hundreds of pages in this law. It's not as simple as saying Congress authorizes $200 billion for war. There's going to be some things about buying more missiles and replacing some of the planes that have been destroyed, but there will be hundreds of pages of different things put into this law, some of it that has nothing to do with the Iran war. What my message for Congress would be, and my advice to President Trump, is that you must include a provision, an authorization in this law to provide these air defense systems for Kurdistan region. I think it is not wise for the U.S. to deploy all kinds of many more troops to Kurdistan region to shoot down the drones. It is better, as the old parable says, to teach a man how to fish instead of giving a man fish. So if we can teach Peshmerga how to operate these sophisticated systems, and if we legally are able to sell them, then we have a solution for KRG. Will that solve the problem tomorrow? No, it will not solve the problem tomorrow or the next week. But the next time these outlaw militia groups are deciding to attack Kurdistan region, there can be more protection controlled by Kurdish security forces.
Sir, you have worked with the US military. Do you think the US thinks of protecting Kurdistan as its strategic duty? Because Kurdistan, in the countries it is divided to, is always seen as an ally of the US and is always punished for this by the countries in this region. You have seen this in Syria, in the Rojava. They are still being called Israel-US allies, and they are being punished for this. Not only by the country, but also by the community. And now in Kurdistan, it's happening again because Iran and Iran-backed militias are seeing Kurdistan as an ally of yours. Do you think US sees protecting Kurdistan as its duty?
The U.S. primary interest is protecting its own facilities that are in Kurdistan region and other what we could call mission essential vulnerable areas. So the U.S. does not see its duty to provide an umbrella of security from Zakho to Halabja or Halabja to Hasaka.
I see. Talking about the war in Iran, do you think a ground invasion or a ground operation against Iran is likely to happen in the coming days, despite the talks between US and Iran?
The best solution to end this war will be talks, and quickly diplomatic talks that allow the United States and President Trump to declare victory. The Iranian regime will stay intact with a leader who is going to be in a respectful and responsive relationship with Washington, D.C. And if there is a ground invasion, then this ground invasion will probably be uncontested, meaning there may be some American troops that go on the ground in maybe Kurd Island or some other location, but their entry into the ground will not be in a way where there is a high level of combat. And there will, the United States is not interested, or the president is not interested in having many soldiers, American soldiers, killed in Iran. That would be very bad for the country, and it would harm him politically.
I know President Trump might be unpredictable, but do you think it is more likely to send troops to Kurd Island and only that island and not into Iran itself?
It is likely that if there are troops, they would only go to Kurd Island so the U.S. can have more control over Iran's oil sales and exporting. If there's any U.S. troops that go into the mainland of Iran, they are likely to be very small special operations who can do a limited mission. And let's not forget that some of the operations that America does, the leadership in Washington likes to get good pictures and likes to show the success and heroism of American combat forces. but this would likely be a very small operation on the mainland.
Sir, you said ground invasion is not very likely, and it is better to end the war with talks and with Iranian regime staying intact. But do you think if the war ends without a regime change in Tehran, USA wins or Iran wins? Because some might say it is a glory for Iran if they stay in power after all this.
Well, you have to understand that President Trump will always say he is a winner under any circumstances in his life. It doesn't matter what. He will say he's a winner. He has about 35% of Americans who follow everything that he says. They will be happy. There will be a big celebration. So regardless of what the reality is or different perspectives, President Trump will declare victory. And I do know that the U.S., whoever is remaining in charge of the regime, will be cooperating with the United States. If not, the United States will likely kill that person until they find somebody who is willing to cooperate with them. The U.S. also understands that sometimes if you change leadership totally in a government, that there might be disarray in the country, and it could be a situation where the government breaks down and Iran as a nation state begins to fracture along different ethnic cultural lines. And the U.S. would prefer to work with a nation that is intact and is not going to cost more money to rebuild or be cancerous to the region.
Talking about the ethnicities in Iran. First, initially, during the first days of the war, there were a lot of coverage by US media outlets saying that US is training the Iranian Kurdish forces to go and enter Iran and liberate their cities, their Kurdish cities, and get their rights back. And then President Trump also said it would be wonderful if they did enter Iran. But after a few days, President Trump said they are willing to go, but I have told them not to. What might have changed his mind?
I believe that there are some of the advisors to the president and some experts in the intelligence community and military who would have presented the option of arming the Iranian Kurdish groups to fight into Kurdistan area. But as they looked at it, there are simply a few conditions that are much different than the partnership with Kurds in Iraq and the partnership with Kurds in Syria. Among them is the number of forces of the Iranian Kurdish groups, PJAK, PDKI, Komala, etc. There are not that many fighters there, and to send them into Iran with a limited mission to secure cities like Mahabad and Sanadaj, that would not achieve a long-term tactical or strategic goal for the U.S. and Israel. So I think instead of expanding the war, causing more provocation and the deaths of many Kurdish fighters, it was decided to not go with that choice, an option.
So you think U.S. simply abandoned the idea of supporting Kurds to liberate their Kurdish cities in Iran? And when you look at the map of the attacks during the first days of the war, most of the U.S.-Israeli attacks were on western Iran, but now it has shifted into central Iran. Do you think they have totally abandoned the idea of provoking or supporting Kurds to cause an uprising there?
I don't think the U.S. ever abandons any ideas, but I think this is the prudent decision is not to try to unleash these Kurdish fighting forces now. Would likely result in a more long-term problems, and perhaps at the end of the war, there can be a negotiation for Kurds and Lurs and even Alevis to provide security in their own areas in western Iran.
Kurds have always gained some rights after chaos and wars. Do you think Kurds have a chance, an opportunity to negotiate with the current or the future regime of Iran to get some rights back, including their talking and education in their mother language?
Well, I cannot fully predict the future, but what I can say is it will be important that the future Iran has voices from all regions, where everybody's at the table, where there is a representative government that is respecting of all people's rights. We can see an example in Syria, where President Ahmad al-Shara is trying to put together Syria with a strong central government, but still respecting the rights of minority groups by allowing some language instruction, celebration of cultural holidays, and inclusion of minority groups in their own regional security forces. Perhaps Iran can have this type of system, but we still have some time to go before the war ends. I will say, though, that the United States is not as focused on human rights during the Trump administration. So I don't believe that Kurds should wait for America to save them and protect them and allow the teaching of Slemani and Kurmanji in schools in Iran. The U.S. is not interested in protecting those rights. It's not a priority.
So what is your advice for Iranian Kurdish officials then? That they should get their rights back with their efforts or depend on some other country?
I have the privilege of knowing some of the Iranian Kurdish officials in Washington, D.C., some of their official representatives, and we have dialogue. And if what I would generally advise them is what I would say in public, that should wait for the fighting to end and find out what the disposition is, what the final settlement for the Iranian military forces, and then those groups should also advocate in Washington and also advocate in Tehran to have control of local security in Kurdish areas. But as you know, the boundaries of these areas are not as simple as maps would have it be, right? So I say Kurdish areas. Well, if you're in western Iran, if you start to head a little bit south, you're going to have Lurs. Are Lurs Kurds? Are they, what is the differentiation? If you start to head north, you have Alevis. Are Alevis and Kurds going to get along? Where are the boundaries in these areas? These things should be worked out locally with the participation of all groups in Tehran, and having local solutions and local security is probably the best outcome for Kurds and other groups, Baluchs and other groups in Iran. I'll say one more thing about this. I've noticed in the past few weeks, when there was discussion of Kurds going into Iran, that there was strong backlash from the Persian diaspora in the United States and Europe. And the language used against Kurdish people is some of the most vile and hateful rhetoric that I couldn't even imagine. I've seen stronger statements against the idea of Peshmerga going into Kurdish provinces than rhetoric against the regime's military forces. So that's why I think people need to sit at the table, and I don't believe that Kurds should make a gamble and send Peshmerga into Western Iran.
Sir, you said you have talked with Kurdish Iranian officials. Did they tell you what President Trump told them in the call?
No, but I did not ask them what they discussed with President Trump. But what we do know now, based on the success of Kurds defeating ISIS in Syria and Kurds helping defeat ISIS in Iraq, that President Trump is aware of who Kurdish people are, what Kurdish groups do. And when he and Secretary Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance and other senior administration officials, when they are talking about Kurds, they are having thoughtful, meaningful, substantive discussions about the partnership with Kurdish groups.
Mm-hmm. So do you think after all the attacks on Iranian regime, their grip on Eastern Kurdistan or Kurdish areas have weakened, or it is the same? as before?
Yeah, I don't have any insights and perspective on the ground. As you know, the internet coverage is very limited from that region. But I do know that the hundreds of attacks on Iranian military headquarters, police headquarters, camps, border camps, that had to have weakened Iran's ability to command and control forces, also their infrastructure and capability to put equipment to take control of these areas. But I'm not sure what's happening on the ground, and would be good that in the rebuilding of Iran, that again Kurdish forces, Kurdish Peshmerga and Asayish would take control of their native natural areas.
Sir, US always says that they have defeated Iran's military, but Iran says we are still capable and they're attacking Gulf countries on a daily basis. Do you think Iran's military has been defeated, or no, they're still a powerful country in the region?
A boxer who is continuing to throw punches is not defeated.
So no, they're not defeated.
Not defeated.
Okay. In your professional assessment, why do you think the main objective in attacking Iran was their nuclear power or nuclear capabilities, or it was something else behind the curtains?
I think there are a lot of things that are happening behind the curtains, but the public statements of President Netanyahu and President Trump said that defeating Iran's ability to have to enrich uranium and to have nuclear weapons is the number one priority. Defeating their military and also preventing Hezbollah organizations from threatening Israel is the number two priority, and potentially changing the regime. We'll see. It's very likely that Iran's ability to enrich uranium and create nuclear weapons has been destroyed, or at least set back many years. But there are longer games at play here too. Let us all understand that war includes economic outcomes. And we have seen Prime Minister Netanyahu talk about having oil pipelines that travel from east to west across the Arabian Peninsula, and suggestions that the pipelines would go to the Mediterranean Sea through Israel. We have heard directly President Trump talk multiple times about oil, so much so saying that he had an agreement with Iran related to oil. And right after he said that, a couple of oil tankers, I think about 3 million barrels of oil, were allowed to travel safely through the Strait of Hormuz. We have seen that the U.S. has lifted sanctions on Iran's ability to sell oil. Imagine that. President Trump lifting sanctions to allow Iran to make some money and allow American competitors like China and India the ability to buy oil. So oil, money, business is all part of this war.
Okay. You mentioned Netanyahu. Let this be my last question. There is a speculation that Netanyahu might have provided misleading information to President Trump regarding the war and regarding the uprisings in Iran, and said that the Iran war will not take too long and people will defeat the regime, and we will be free with Iran in a few weeks. But it's not happening. What is your take on that? Do you think this is true?
I don't know the private discussions between the two leaders, but what I do know is that America and Israel are in this together, and at some point the war will end, and all sides will declare a victory.
Sir, we were very pleased to have you on our show. It was our absolute pleasure, and we're looking forward to see you again and talk with you about other peaceful and better topics in the future.
Certainly. Thank you for having me. Congratulations on your relatively new program, and I hope that your viewers are continuing to have an interest in foreign policy and international affairs, because a lot of the young people in Kurdistan region today will be leading someday on the world stage, like, of course, His Excellency Ambassador Barham Saleh, who is now in a huge role at the United Nations. And at one point, he was a young Kurdish boy just trying to make it through a time of oppression of his people. So thank you for having me again. I wish everybody peace and safety with all of this rain that's happening. And I hope all the drone attacks end immediately.
It means a lot to our Kurdish audience, and I know they will be very delighted to hear this from you. It is very motivational, and thank you for your time, sir. Take care.
Merhaba.
We have been a chance for stability, and we will be in Iran, and we will be in everywhere else we are.
I have another guest with me, who is Mr. Hajar Brinji, representative of the Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan to the USA. Sir, we are very happy to have you on our show. I want to start with this. All major outlets, especially the US media outlets, in the beginning of the war said that Kurdish Peshmerga forces, opposition forces, Iranians, are planning to enter and start a ground operation against Iran. Do you think this was true for the beginning of the war, then it changed, or it is still true?
Thanks very much for having me. Pleasure is totally mine to be able to use your platform to speak to your audience. To be very honest, at this moment, I think the important part is what is the situation now, rather than what happened in the past. The situation of the Kurdish forces on the ground and their effectiveness, their positions, the way they could be the answer to the current situation in the Middle East and in Iran in particular, it's basically unavoidable. You have to know that the Kurdish forces, myself personally and my political party believes that we are a chance to a democratic Iran. We are a chance to come up with a solution, with an answer, with the situation that's unfolding right now on the ground. We believe that any changes in Iran, any kind of process in Iran to build a new democratic and plural Iran has to include the Kurds. There's no way that anyone that wants to make a change within Iran could actually ignore the effectiveness of the Kurds. But as I was actually asked the same question by the American outlets as well, I do believe that both sides, both the Kurdish side and the American side, they need to understand that the points needs to be clear of the expectations of the outcome. We are a reality on the ground. We are a political reality. We are a political program. We need to have some sort of understanding in terms of expectations to be able to go on with any sort of actions or operations on the ground.
I see. Sir, the war was only starting, and then we heard that President Trump had a phone call with Mustafa Hijri, head of the Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan, your party. What was the call about?
I think it's pretty normal if the President of United States talks to very, very major, effective forces on the ground in Iran, that they are aligned with their goals. Since 1979, the Kurds, and in particular Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan, was the first force, the first political party that did not accept Islamic Republic as a governing model for Iran. And that's where the issues between the Kurds and Khomeini started it back in 1979. And that's when Khomeini declared jihad against the Kurds. Khomeini sent General Chamran to Kurdistan back in 1980 and told him that the Kurdish land and the Kurdish blood and the Kurdish women are halal to my soldiers. And that was an official declaration of jihad against the Kurds at the time. So the struggle of the Kurds against Iranian regime was not started recently with this situation or because of this situation. We had started that struggle long time ago, and Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan is one of the very few movements that has managed to stay around the Iranian borders, in contact with its people, the ability of mobilizing their own people within Iranian Kurdistan. We have seen it in multiple occasions that the Kurdish parties, and in particular PDKI, has been able to mobilize people within Iran. And if you are the President of United States and you are in a war with Iran, and we think that Iran is a threat to the international stability, to international economy, to the regional stability, how come you wouldn't go and talk and you wouldn't talk to a major opposition leader within Iran? And then we think that Mr. Hijri, our leader, is the correct address for that.
So do you think that relationship between US and the Kurds has diminished before even starting? Because firstly, President Donald Trump said that it would be, quote unquote, wonderful for Kurdish opposition forces to enter Iran. Then he later said, the Kurdish forces are willing to enter Iran, but I told them not to enter. So do you think it might have diminished, or US is not using that strategy or abandoned that strategy?
International law and policies and governance is a very complicated story, Carlos. Within the administration of President Trump, we have seen so many times that the approach of President Trump to different situations and conflicts in the world is not the way that we usually used to it by the American administrations of the past, or even his first post as the president of United States over there. So it's totally understandable for political figures like President Trump to have different strategies in terms of movement on the ground, in terms of creating political decisions or ground decisions for moving forces or alliance with whomever they want to do. This is totally understandable. Maybe President Trump at that time saw this statement as the correct statement over there, and he made it that statement. However, the alliance of Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan with all democratic forces in the world, including United States of America, as we think United States is the most powerful and the most major international force right now, that they have their own programs, they have their own visions, they have their own tactic and strategies in the world. We recognize that, and our communications, our relationships with the United States and the other democratic world countries has not started recently, and it has not been demolished at all if it's not been strengthened.
You seem hopeful of the relationship between Kurds and the US. Has the United States ever made any promises to Iranian Kurds?
You know, in politics, I think promise is a very naive word, to be very honest with you. Politics is, as our beloved leader, Dr. Abdurrahman Qasimlu mentioned when he was alive, he in one of his classrooms, when he was actually teaching the Peshmerga forces, he mentioned that politics is the art of possible. And the politics does not mean black or white. Politics doesn't start with operations on the ground when you're mentioning, or it doesn't end with that. Politics is something that you, based on the realities on the ground, you make your policies, you change them, you become flexible, you become customizable, and you utilize your forces and abilities towards your objectives over there. The relationship between us and the United States and our hopefulness for the future of Iran and Eastern Kurdistan, as they call it, Iranian Kurdistan, of course I'm hopeful. I'm definitely hopeful. Why? Because for 47 years, our people in Iranian Kurdistan struggled to the world to make them understand that Islamic regime is a threat to the humanity, is a threat to the democracy, is a threat to the regional stability. At this moment, we see that finally world has seen that, because they saw that, especially during the last 3 weeks, that Iranian regime with no real reason has been spreading bombs and missiles and drones all over the place in the region. It has destabilized the Gulf. It has destabilized the whole region. It has attacked Kurdistan region with no reason whatsoever for what they are doing over there. They are creating chaos. They are creating repressions inside Iran. They killed over 30,000 people in 2 days, which we still don't have the exact number, just because people went to the street and in a peaceful way, people asked for their own human rights over there. So I am hopeful. Definitely, I am hopeful. And I think there is a bright future awaiting the Iranian people in general. But within Iran, the nations who built the geography that's called Iran, it's up to them how we want to recreate that country. We can represent our own people. We represent the Kurdish people. And as I said, we believe that the Kurds are a chance to the story. They're part of the story right now. They are a chance for a democracy in Iran. They are a chance for the stability of the whole region. And they are a chance and they are an answer to the situation that's on the ground right now. You know, long ago, I was working for a huge, big American corporative. And then in that corporative, they would call some people very smart or genius in some way. They would say, you could ignore them. You can go against them. You can not agree with them. But there's one thing that you cannot do, and it is to ignore them. Kurdish reality on the ground, Kurdish file on the ground, is not something that could be ignored by anyone anymore. Kurdish reality in the region is a reality in all the countries that the Kurds are living in that needs to be taken care of peacefully and legally. We don't ever talk about wars at the lower stage, or we don't talk about conflicts. We believe that human lives are very valuable. We don't say that war or fighting or bombing is a small thing. But when talks, when negotiations, when peaceful ways are out of chance, then there are different ways that you need to bring peace, as President Trump says, through power or through strength. Keep in mind, Iranian government and Iranian officials in the recent days, they repeatedly talk about that they've been in negotiations while US and Israel attacked them or something like that. But as one of our very beloved colleagues in Kurdistan region mentioned a few days ago, they shouldn't forget that they assassinated our leader on peace talks on the table. They took out the so-called diplomats in 1988 in Vienna. They took out their guns, their pistols on the table of negotiations, and they shot at our leaders when they wanted to have a peaceful solution to this situation. So at this moment, I think, if I conclude it, Kurds are ready in any way possible. Kurds are not a factor that could be ignored. Kurds are a chance to all those countries in the region. And my direct message is to Turkey as well, that we are a chance for stability. They should not be concerned about Iranian Kurds as a factor for disability in the region. We are a chance, as we have been in Kurdistan region as the Kurds, we have been a chance for stability in the region, in the world, in Syria, in Iraq, and we will be in Iran, and we will be in everywhere else we are.
Turkey has many neighbors. You mentioned Turkey, and most of their neighbors have hostile relationships with Turkey, except for Kurdistan region, which has been a friendly neighbor to Turkey since its formation. How can you relieve Turkey that forming some sort of autonomy for Kurds in Iran is not a threat to Turkey?
First of all, Turkey is very much concerned about the refugee status and the refugee crisis. They think that because they had refugees going to their country from Syria, and then they had previously in 1991 and 2003, they had refugees going from Iraq to Turkey, they're afraid that they would have another refugee crisis over there. The second part is that there is a huge Azeri Turk population inside Iran that, based on their historical approach of Turkey, they feel like they need to back up their brothers and sisters, which we totally understand that, because we do have our own brothers and sisters in different parts of Kurdistan that we feel their pain, we feel their success, and we feel their failure as well. The third part is that Turkey is so-called afraid of terrorist activities or destabilizations at their borders. For all those three major concerns that Turkey has openly stated, what I can tell you is, first of all, Iranian Kurdistan region has a huge border with Turkey. And that border is a chance for trade, for a lot of natural resources, for a lot of chances and abilities and opportunities for Turkish government to think about a bright potential in this area.
But Turkey is already making use of these borders. They have huge trade relationships with Iran. Why would they need a change of regime?
Do you believe that there will be an Iran like before? Or there will be a new Iran? I think any smart politician, any smart government should have plans for situations. I believe that Turkey did not think, or they believed that Iranian government would put everything on the table and would not escalate the situation to the current war that we see right now. But we see a war right now. We see the reality on the ground right now. You need to see those realities. I don't think that Iranian government, Iranian regime, the Islamic regime, will ever be able to go back to their status before 4 weeks ago. So Turkey, as a strategic, powerful country in the region, who we definitely have respect for, and we think that they are a strategic partner of the Kurds anywhere the Kurds are, because we are the neighbors, they should think about the potentials rather than the risks of having communication, open dialogue with the Kurds. Look at it, Kakalus. After 40 years of clashes within the borders of Turkey, now Turkey itself and Turkish leaders are saying that the solution to the Kurdish issue within the borders of Turkey are through dialogue and through negotiations and through peace. What I'm saying is, it is the right approach. We need to have communication. We need to have direct dialogue. This way we can resolve their concerns. We understand the concerns that Turkey has, but without a proper channel of dialogue, we cannot resolve those issues. Turkey is as strategic for us as much as Kurds are strategic to Turkey. Keep in mind, the relationship between Azeri Turks and the Kurds of Iranian Kurdistan goes back almost a century back. And we had appreciations and agreements between the Kurdistan Democratic Republic of Mahabad and the Republic of Azerbaijan with its capital in Tabriz. Mr. Peshawari, the president of the Azerbaijan Republic back then, and Qazi Muhammad, our beloved leader, they had a very good relationship. I am myself personally was born in a city that we lived with our Azeri Turk neighbors side by side for hundreds of years. And I know how important it is that we continue that peaceful living with other nations and neighboring nations in such areas of Iranian Kurdistan and Iranian Azerbaijan. And I think the stability and the friendship between us and the Azeri Turks in Iran, and the friendship between us and the government and authorities in Turkey will be a major factor in the regional stability, control, and benefit of both parties.
You just said that Turkey has, after years of war with Kurds, has chosen dialogue with Kurds. And they're sitting down at the table and they're talking about peaceful negotiations and peaceful rights. Why don't you, as Kurdish parties and Kurdish coalition parties, try to negotiate with Iran, with this regime of Iran, instead of fighting them?
As I told you, we have already given that chances. The number of chances that has been given to the Iranian regime since 1979, it's unprecedented with anyone else. Keep in mind, we tried to be involved in their governmental system back in 1980. They rejected us, not just us, anyone else who wasn't ready to accept the Walayat al-Faqih or the Supreme Leader model, as they called it, or their Islamic Republic model that they had in mind. After that, throughout elections, they brought in a model, an very non-democratic model, that they actually elected people before people could elect them. Basically, if you became a candidate, you should first go to their authorities. They would accept if you are eligible to become a candidate, and then very few candidates were able to get votes from people inside Iran. So that's totally against any democratic values over there. Having said that, as I mentioned earlier, in 1988, our beloved leader, Dr. Qasem, was assassinated on negotiation table with Iranian officials, so-called diplomats, that they assassinated him, so they didn't give a chance to the peace. Even after that, there has been numerous occasions that other mediators have come and said, we want to mediate, we want to make sure that the solution to the Kurdish issues within Iranian borders are solvable through dialogue. They are not willing to negotiate and find a diplomatic solution with their neighboring countries, with United States, with the Gulf? How come they would come and really come in with an objective in their mind that they want to find a solution with the Kurds?
I see.
We have that chance. The Iranian people, other than the Kurds on top of us, they gave chance to them through reformist movement. They gave them multiple chances. They gave them chances by selecting different names for the government. But still, Iranian people saw that none of these worked. Reform is a very unknown mentality or way of thinking to the Iranian officials of Islamic Republic.
Kakajar, you said that there is a new Iran. There will be a new Iran in the future. Will this new Iran still have this regime on top of the country, or the son of the previous Shah, Raza Pahlavi, might come back, or the Mujahideen might come back to the country, or someone will come back to lead the country that we have never heard of? What is your take on this? Who do you think will lead the country in this new Iran?
This is a question that only Iranian people through democratic elections and systems can choose for themselves. We can only talk about ourselves. We in the Iranian Kurdistan, as the Iranian Kurds, we saw ourselves as the Iranian Kurdish political parties and the PDKI as the representative of the Kurdish people in Iranian Kurdistan. We believe that the only system that could keep Iran together, keep those borders together, bring democracy to Iran and stability to Iran, is through a plural, democratic, federal system that every single Iranian nation has its own rights through this system, and they would find themselves as part of the power. A central system in Iran will never ever again put those borders and Iran as we know it together. Dividing power in Iran is the only answer to the new, modern, and as President Trump called it, the great new Iran.
So according to these criteria that Kurdish parties have, do you think Mujahideen is your closest party in this? Because Mujahideen says we are giving Kurds their autonomy.
I don't think that in the political landscape of Iran, anyone is as open as the Kurds for dialogues with anyone.
So you are open to any party that comes to power, even if it's this regime, as long as they give you the rights.
This is basically, look at that, Kakalwis. There is, as I said, in politics, there is no white or black. You create your policies based on the realities on the ground. We cannot predict. Our job is not predictions. Our job is dealing with the realities on the ground right now. As of now, we are open to dialogue with anyone who wants to have a dialogue. But in terms of alliance, that's a different thing. Alliance has its own criteria, alliance has its own conditions, and alliance has its own description.
So now I'm not asking you to predict. I'm asking you about a past event. You are your party's representative to the US. And while you were probably there, an important visit happened. Your party spokesperson, Khalid Azizi, visited the US for several meetings. Was it his initiative to come to the US, or he was invited by the US government? And were the meetings productive?
Khalid's visit to United States wasn't the first visit. In fact, Khalid previously, before he became the spokesperson of PDKI, or previously at his previous positions throughout the party, at some point he had even leadership positions in the party. Khalid previously, a few years ago, Khalid was the representative of PDKI in United States. So Khalid was always been traveling to United States, had very deep connections with the United States in different parts of the administration. And Kak Khalid came to United States as part of his duties as the spokesperson of the PDKI, and he held the meetings and the conferences and activities that he had planned.
I see. Iran says that if one single Iranian Kurdish Peshmerga enters Iran from Kurdistan region, they will attack all Kurdistan region's infrastructure. Do you have any alternative plans to do anything in Iranian Kurdistan without risking Iraqi Kurdistan?
First of all, Iraqi Kurdistan has been at most importance to us as Iranian Kurdish parties, and we have been very understanding in terms of our position for Iraqi Kurdistan. We have always tried to keep Iraqi Kurdistan outside of the situation. But to be very honest with you, as of now, let's be very open. Has any Peshmergas, Iranian Kurd Peshmergas, passed the border and went to Iran and did any kind of operation yet?
No.
You even asked me, but what has happened? Iraqi Kurdistan has given the most fatalities. Airport has been attacked by hundreds of times. Iraqi Kurdish Peshmergas from Barzan area has been attacked, and we had 6 martyrs there. We had another 2 Peshmergas from Chabad, beloved Peshmergas that they martyred. We had 2 Peshmergas from Komala, beloved Peshmergas that they were martyred. And as of now, just last night, we saw that only one civilian camp around Koya was attacked 7 times. We see the house of the president of the Kurdistan region, Mr. Nechirwan Barzani, in the Hague being under attack, that we strongly condemn. We believe that what Iran is doing, Iran's approach to the Kurdish issue, no matter if it's inside Iran, inside Iraq, Syria, or Turkey, it's not a friendly approach. Iranian government, in any way possible, would in any ways find excuses to attack the Kurds. But of course, having said that, maybe in the last 30 years, we have tried very hard to not become a reason or an excuse for Iraqi Kurdistan to be under attack, because we see Iraqi Kurdistan and its formation of the government system over there and the federal system established in Iraqi Kurdistan as a game, as it's part of our own strategic game that we see this system over there. So of course we don't want it to be hurt.
I see.
Of course we don't want
Kurdistan region's officials say repeatedly that we are neutral and we are not a part of this war, and we will not pose a threat to Iran. Are you, as Iranian Kurdish parties, respect this neutrality?
Of course we do respect this neutrality. We respect this neutrality, and we have utmost respect for this decision, and we think it's a right decision as well. We don't think that anything other than neutrality for them would do good to anyone.
Many see this as a historic opportunity for Kurds in Iranian Kurdistan. Do you see this as an opportunity, and do you have plans to seize this opportunity?
First of all, we didn't start our struggle with this opportunity, and we are not going to end our struggle with this opportunity. I want to remind you, back in 2015, when Iran was at its strongest stronghold and position in the region back in 2015, and there was no war, there was nothing against them, and there was no alliances in the world being against their atomic program or anyone else. We had the initiative that's called Rasan back in 2015, and we started a new wave of operations and activities within Iranian Kurdistan based on the realities of the ground in 2015. And that campaign of Rasan brought a totally new blood, a new generation of Kurdish youth to the struggle of Iranian Kurdistan, and they joined the Peshmerga forces back then. If we have taken our struggle that seriously, see, we have a case, we have a file, which is the Kurdish file. It's a strong case. That strong case is not there to be saturated by a position or a situation or not. Of course, it's our right to protect our people in any way possible. It's our right to gain the rights, the very, very legal right of our people in any way possible. And it's our right to take any chance in any position to reach our objectives.
Let my last question be about your coalition. You have a coalition with Kurdish parties, the Iranian Kurdish parties. Is this more like a political agreement, or things may happen after this coalition is active, or a new chapter for Kurdish Iranians will start?
The coalition of political parties of Iranian Kurdistan, or the alliance, I think it's one of the most important achievements that we have reached in the recent history of Kurdish struggle in Iranian Kurdistan. Unity is a huge part of our success. As of now, I am very proud of PDKI, who played an instrumental role to form this coalition. This coalition has given us all the rights and legal power to represent Iranian Kurds in the world stage. That alliance started it with a dialogue center. After this dialogue center became the Alliance of Iranian Kurdistan Political Parties. And this alliance, based on the situation, will increase and expand its activities and responsibilities and the way it reacts to anything. At this moment, we are expanding the reach of this alliance in all major areas of our activities within all the political parties of this alliance.
Although I aimed to it be like my last question, but I have another question. We have seen disagreements between the Kurdish parties in the past in Iranian Kurdistan. Is this coalition promising? It looks like a permanent thing, a long-standing objective and strategy for all the Kurdish parties to unite under one umbrella?
To be very honest, Kurdish struggle within Iranian Kurdistan has a long history. And throughout that history, we have seen a lot of situations in the other parts of Kurdistan. So there is a lot of lesson for us to be learned from what has happened in the past, like any other serious political party. And this alliance is an answer to the demands for unity that we have received from our people within Iranian Kurdistan. We believe that our stronghold, our real power, our real effectiveness comes from the people who are inside Iranian Kurdistan, and they are the ones who demand our unity. And this unity, let's hope that will last very, very long and will be there for the benefit of the Kurdish people of Iranian Kurdistan.
Mr. Hajabrinji, thank you for your time and thank you for being with us today.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Invasion of the Kurdish areas of Iran is a very serious topic. It cannot be taken lightly.
Now I have with me Ayub Nouri, who is a journalist and host of Erbil Edition. We are very pleased to have you here, Mr. Ayub. Do you think Kurdistan region has protected its borders well enough to not pose a threat to Iran?
Yes, I believe so. I think the whole foundation of the Kurdistan region and the Kurdistan regional government from day one, and now it has been 35 years since the creation of the Kurdistan region from 1991. And that foundation is peace internally and also good and neighborly relations with its neighbors. So even if the Kurdistan region has not been able to protect its borders, as you know, in the Middle East, especially when you have mountains and porous borders, it's not easy to protect a border. But the fact is that the Kurdistan region has never posed a threat to any of its neighbors and never publicly nor secretly wanted to pose a threat to any of its neighbors. It's not about protecting the borders. It's about what your official policy and position is.
So you have no advice to the foreigners that are currently in Kurdistan or want to come to Kurdistan?
I cannot really. It's in a situation like that, no one can tell anyone what to do. It's a personal choice. I mean, consulates and embassies constantly, even when there is not a war, they continuously give advice to their citizens whether to travel to a specific destination or not, or whether to leave or not, especially in this case. But
do you personally feel safe?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. You are a journalist, and how do you think should journalists cover the story and cover the position of Kurdistan to the world and to Iran as a region that says I'm neutral. How is this the Kurdistan's responsibility of their journalists? You are a journalist yourself, and you cover the news and the events in Kurdistan in English. How do you think English-speaking journalists should act in this situation?
I think they have to, as in any war zone, even though the Kurdistan region is not really a war zone, the Kurdistan region is not part of this conflict, has never said it wanted to be. But in any case, these journalists really have to look for the fact, and if they want to show that the Kurdistan region is neutral or not part of this conflict, they will have to go and talk to government officials, talk to the border patrol, talk to the official armed forces of the Kurdistan region to see what their position is. And it's clear on the ground that the Kurdistan region, the Kurdistan region has been on the receiving end of rockets and drone attacks. It has not been a launchpad of these attacks. That's why it's very easy for a journalist, for a foreign journalist to come here and see where Kurdistan region really stands in what's going on in the Middle East at the moment.
What about international media outlets? Do you think international media has covered Kurdistan's situation fairly?
I don't think so. I mean, they have. We had a CNN story in the early days of the hostilities. They broke this story that the United States wanted to train Iranian Kurdish groups to go, that are based in the Kurdistan region, to go back to Iran. That's one story, and it was flawed, as it was proven. And Iranian Kurds and the Kurdistan region, they all denied that there was such a plan. But all in all, these days, I think the coverage of this war is not like the past. In the past, each media outlet, especially from the United States and other European countries, they had crews, media teams on the ground. These days, with social media, with the internet and citizen journalism, it is really easy for them to gain a lot of access and get a picture of what's going on without really being on the ground.
Do you think those coverages during the early days of the war by international media outlets and especially US media outlets has made the hostilities and aggressions against Kurdistan region even more?
Pardon me, can you repeat the question?
Do you think these coverages by US media outlets during the early days of the war that said the Kurdish Iranian opposition groups in Kurdistan are being trained and are planning to go into Iran has made the aggressions and the hostilities against Kurdistan region even more?
I don't think if it has, but it could have. I mean, it's not an easy topic to raise without proper investigation, without facts and evidence. Of course, if you say to Iran and the international community that Kurdish groups based in Iraqi Kurdistan are preparing to launch an invasion or ground invasion of the Kurdish areas of Iran, it's a very serious topic. It cannot be taken lightly. So I don't know if it has increased hostilities against the Kurdistan region, but unfortunately still, despite all the neutrality and seeking good relations with all the neighbors of the Kurdistan region, attacks and drones, I think official figures here say more than 450 missile and drone attacks have been launched against the Kurdistan region in the last 4 weeks.
The Office of Media and Information in the Kurdistan region government has published some guidelines for journalists and for the public as well to not post and publish videos of drones that attack their places in the Kurdistan region and not give specific details about the attacks. Do you think this is undermining people's freedom and journalism freedom as a whole and people's free speech, or it is a right guideline for current events?
I think they are both right. The government for not wanting the coverage of these attacks and for people wanting to know what's happening. But I think whatever happens, I mean, why would anyone care where a drone has landed on someone's house or some base somewhere? It doesn't really change anything in people's lives. What matters is that the Kurdistan region has come under attack, and we've had casualties, civilians, guards, Peshmerga soldiers. People's homes and properties have been damaged. So that's the problem, that the Kurdistan region is under attack. But if most people don't know, and also during war, you have to be really careful whether you are on the battlefield, on the front lines, or in the city. It's important to have some rules and regulations, because everything you post online, the aftermath of any attack that you post, it might be used by the second party or the one that has fired these rockets, the enemy, let's say. It gives them information because they fire a rocket or a drone. They might not necessarily know the scale of damage or the location or the accuracy. But if every time a rocket comes or a drone lands somewhere in the Kurdistan region and you posted immediately the amount of damage, the location, the scale of damage, of course, it's useful for the people who have fired these rockets and drones. So I think even if some established media organizations do some coverage, it's better than people randomly everywhere taking out their phones and filming everything, because you don't know how far that information will go and how it will be used.
Mr. Ayub Nouri, thank you for your time and for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
The regime is not in a position to negotiate regarding the rights for the Kurds.
To talk about the Kurdish struggles in Iran and the Kurdish parties in Iran, which some might be new to the political stage, I want to have another guest with me, which is Mr. Diyar Perwana, one of the founders of Kurdistan Future Movement. He is with us from Sweden. Sir, we are very pleased to have you with us tonight. And I want to start with this. How does your party is different from the other established Kurdish parties? Why did you feel the need for creating a party when there were already plenty of parties in the Iranian Kurdistan?
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate for you having us. It's greatly appreciated. So why did we create a new movement in Eastern Kurdistan? Because we believe that there was a necessity for having different ideas in the region, especially when we didn't know what happened in Rojava, NATO allies do believe that Rojava is actually controlled by PKK. And there are some movements in the region that are actually connected to PKK, and we believe that we are a good alternative for PKK in the region. And our ideology is different from those who are been struggling against the Iranian regime. We believe that our ideology is better than the current ideologies in the region. Especially, we do not preach for nationalism in general. We believe that our ideology for all the ethnic groups in Iran, they should have an opportunity to live together in peace and prosperity.
So what is your objective? What is your objective as a party? It is to create a region of self-governance for Kurds in Iran, or it is to live peacefully with all the ethnicities in Iran without self-governance? It's only that you have a community that is getting along together.
We believe that self-determined is actually is a necessity for us Kurds in the region. But we actually believe federalism in the region, especially for Iran, is a good option to start with. But we do believe in self-determination for the Kurds, and it's our right to be independent.
Other parties, other Kurdish parties, have been in conflict with the current Iranian regime for decades, since the beginning, the foundation of this new Iran. They have been fighting together. But you are a new party. You have not fought against Iran, and you never had any bullets going from you and from them coming to you. So you can negotiate with this regime. You can negotiate with the current Iranian regime. Why don't you try that? Why don't you go there and start negotiations with them so that you can get some rights from the government if you are not in any hostile relationships with them?
It's a valid question. As everybody knows, that the regime is not in a position to negotiate like anything regarding the rights for the Kurds. It's a red line for them. So negotiation for the rights of the Kurds, it's not an agenda for the regime. Whoever is is in the other side, it's actually automatically becomes the enemy of the regime, and it's no place for negotiation. So it is not like the Kurds. We want peace, and we want negotiation. But negotiation is not like the regime even asks for it. No. And regarding Kurdistan Future Movement,
if the Iranian regime tells you, as a new party, as a new Kurdish party, that they want to negotiate with you, are you willing to negotiate with them to get some rights from them for Kurds?
That's a valid question. As a Kurdistan Future Movement alone, we will not go in negotiation with the Iranian regime in the current situation, because we all know that the regime has not shown any the willing to negotiate with us.
I see.
So even negotiation under any circumstances for us with the Iranian regime, it's not possible, and it's it's not on the table.
You founded. I see. You founded this new movement in Europe as a group of youth Kurds in Europe, all from all of the different countries in Europe. So you might have international relations. Do you use these connections and relations for the good of your people back home in Iran?
We do, actually. Majority of our members are not even in Europe or in America or any other continent. Majority of our members are actually currently in the Iraqi-Irani border in Kurdistan. And it's very hard for you to maybe imagine current Kurdish parties in the region. They are trying to ally themselves. What is important is our members is between the Iran and Iraq border, and we actually, while the other parties are trying to unite themselves, we have been in a position to do good things, and even fighting the regime in our own way. We have our own tactics, hit and run, which has been actually quite good for us in the region. So yes, we have a good relationship with NATO and their allies, NATO friends in the region. It is strange that we have been establishing communication with NATO far better than we have established a negotiation, how to say, communication with other political parties in the region.
So there is a new coalition of Kurdish parties, Kurdish Iranian parties. You are not a part of this coalition. Your party is not a part of this coalition because it's a new party, probably. But will you support this movement, this coalition, against anything that works for anything, despite you not being a part of it? Will you support them?
Yes, of course. We support, we support, and we actually stand for uniting all the forces against the Iranian regime. Let's be honest, we have a regime, and this regime have no regards for killing civilians in the region, and unite us. Being united makes us all stronger against the regime. So we support any forces, any Kurdish movements to unite themselves and open a new front against the Iranian regime. That's what we are doing. So regardless of we are with them or not, we support such action.
That's good. That means you are supporting this coalition even if you are not a part of it.
We do.
Okay.
We do. We have our own way. We have our own way to fight the regime, and so having others to be united, it's better for us, because having them being stronger, it's also make us also stronger. It doesn't matter. We consider all the Kurdish fractions to be our friends, so it's good for us.
Do you think you, as a new party, have support from Kurdish Iranians?
Do I think the United States?
No, not the United States. I say, as a new party, do you have support from Iranian Kurds back home in Iran? Are they supporting you as a new party? Do you have any communities there that are advocating for you and they're listening to your advices?
That's a very good, it's a good question. It's a valid question. We do have supporters inside Kurd in Rojava, and we have also members which are not Kurdish speaking. We have some friends, some members. They are from Ahwas, from Balochistan, which is good actually. So we have, our movement is not only a movement for only the Kurds. We have open membership even for other ethnic groups in Iran.
There are Persian supporters. There are other minorities in Iran that are supporting your movement.
Yes, and they are members of our movement. So that makes our movement is actually far more greater than the others. So we have not any condition for other ethnic groups to be to be Kurdish in order to be member of our organization. No, it is not.
If the current crisis ends, the war ends, and the regime is not changed in Iran, then what is your plan? Will you try to negotiate with the remaining government in Iran, or you're still trying to fight them?
So the question is, what if the current regime will not collapse?
Yes.
And what is our plan for the future?
Because there are talks. They say that U.S. and Iran are in talks, and they might not collapse. They might stay in power. What's your plan for that time?
Yeah, that for us it doesn't change anything. We have our own ambition, our own plan, which is topple the Iranian regime with help of the United States or any other countries. It's our plan, it's our ambition to fight the regime until this regime is no longer exist in the region. So we appreciate other countries to step in and to help us destroy the regime. But that will not change the way we are fighting the Iranian regime, our own way.
I know.
So we will fight the Iranian regime with or without the other
okay.
With or without other countries.
Okay. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. What is happening to the Kurdistan region is not only a military war. Yes, there are drones. Yes, there are missiles. Yes, there is blood. But there is also another war. A war on Kurdish identity, a war on Kurdish history, and a war on Kurdistan's economy. Just look at what happened recently. Al Jazeera posted footage of Nowruz celebrations in Acre. The mountains were lit with torches, people wore Kurdish clothes, Kurdistan flags were raised proudly, and yet it was labeled as the Persian New Year. Even when the world is looking directly at Kurdish culture, Kurdish symbols, and Kurdish land, some still try to erase the Kurdish story. And at the same time, the Kurdistan region is being squeezed economically. On March 26th, Tom Barak said clearly that the conflict between Baghdad and Erbil is not just about salaries or budget shares. He said the real issue is justice. Kurdistan, he said, has been placed under siege, its revenues cut off, its economy left at the mercy of Baghdad, a stipend turned into a weapon, paid when Baghdad wants, stopped when Baghdad wants. Because if Kurdistan cannot be brought to its knees with tanks and cannons, as Tom Barak said, then it is pressured with monies, markets, and sanctions.
The problem in Iraq is not the Kurdistan region. The problem in Iraq is the Kurdistan region had resources and people, and the revenue was siphoned off by the federal government. What's in response is a stipend. The stipend is reliant upon the federal government to pay that stipend. It has nothing to do with revenue sharing. So as a consequence, what happens now in the Kurdistan region is you have some of the best integrated environments prospering, relying on a budgetary process in which they have no control over, and even embargoes and sanctions. So one of the things we're working in concert with the Barzanis, the Talibanis, is how do we help in alleviating this embargo sanction situation, which has them not in ownership of their own security. I'm not saying that the federal Iraqi government is a whim and caprices, but it's infiltrated by Iranian militias who in turn are bombing the Kurdistan region and the oil companies. That makes zero sense.
So let us be honest about what this moment is. This is not only a war of missiles, it is a war over whether Kurdistan can live with dignity, with identity, and with the right to stand on its own feet. That was all from me tonight. I hope to see you again in another program in a time when this war is over and when Kurds in every part of Kurdistan are living in greater peace, greater justice, and better days among all other nations in the region. Good night.